In the supermarket, of course, same as everywhere where you are, there are these electronic cash outs. But there is always a few humanoids which operate a cash till the same as they always have. And what I've always noticed is predominantly people will always go to the human. And so I said to this cashier girl, woman, I said, do you find that there's quite a bit of resistance for the automated cash out because of its anti-human? And she says, oh yeah, massively. And then I turned around and there was a little old lady, and I says, obviously you're standing behind me, so you want some human contact. Oh yes, I have the greatest aversity to those machines. I will never use them given the opportunity. And I said, well yes, because how insular? I mean, we all see people going to these machines, and they're kind of like the people that don't want to engage in any case. Very often they're younger because they're involved in all that. They're involved in all this tweeting and Facebook, and they live within the machine, don't they? They actually live, but the older people, they don't live within that. The older people live in the so-called real world, and so they have a resistance. And I have the greatest of resistance of looking into my stupid phone, but I do make a great deal of use of the facilities to continue our humanisms, because I can contact people all over the world. And so from that perspective, it is very greatly useful to continuing with humanisms. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very often always spitting my dummy out and stamping my feet and having a right good rant when I can't get no human interaction, because I'm not prepared to just let it all go. And so when I was speaking to this cashier woman, the song on the radio in the store was I Give It All Up For You. What's the name of this dude? Maybe I'll think about it in a minute. I give it all up for you. I give it all up for you. And I said, well, hey, look, even the song's very befitting. I'll give all that up for some human contact. Because ultimately, we'll be so desperate and crying out for human contact. Well, at least real human beings will. I don't know, to the extent that the human being is going to be nullified through programming. Because obviously we see from the youth that they are very deeply rooted and seated and engaged in this. And even when they are together, sitting alongside each other, they're all staring into their phones. Whereas, of course, the older generation just won't do that, don't do that. And so I don't know whether the human being is going to be lost. I don't know whether the humanity is going to be squeezed out of the human being. I would think because of the fact that humans are primarily programmable matter, then it's highly possible that the humanity will be squeezed out and we will become very Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, very pacified by whatever variety of soma the state is drip feeding us. And of course the soma at this moment in time is the dopamine that people are getting from memes and tweets, and it doesn't necessarily need to be dopamine. It can be like what I'm often giving on this channel. I'm giving you the opportunity to feel anger, resentment and scorn and all those sort of things which you're not able to exhibit under normal circumstances in society, because all of those attributes which pertain to a real human being are being stamped out. they're being stifled and very much frowned upon, and you will be shamed if you exhibit anger. People will think there's something wrong with you if you are being angry. They'll think there's something wrong with you if you notice any differences about anybody. They'll think there's something wrong with you if you decide to go the opposite direction around the marauding circle. You know, there was this film, some of your ones will remember, Midnight Express, where some guy gets arrested for trying to bring back about 20 kilos of hashish out of Turkey. And was it out of Turkey or was it in Turkey? Why would they arrest him going out? I don't know. Anyway, he got arrested and he got sent to prison for a long time. And within the prison, there was this small exercise room, just a stone floor and no light and anything like that. And the inmates would just walk around in a circle. It's a bit like in lots of prisons, really. The prisons have some sort of an exercise facility depending on how small they are, but invariably the inmates will just walk around the expanse of whatever parameters they have, which generally is a circle or a fucking square, you know. And if anybody walks in the opposite direction, then, you know, you'd be considered to be an oddball. But yeah, so the whole way that the powers that be are trying to force the world to be by just detaching us from ever speaking to anybody. And so every time I go into the supermarket, of course the girls know me, oh hi you, and I always have a chat and, you know, often leave them with a little bit of philosophy, speaking to them in a way in which they're not used to being spoken to, and often I can sense from them that they're feeling a little bit strange about that level of intimacy, how I speak as if I've known them forever. They're not really used to that, and but in time they come to expect nothing different. And I'm sure that, you know, a few of the things I say will give them a little bit of food for thought and just bring about a greater awareness of what is going on around them. And so, when we look at the automated thing that's going on, and mostly it's the older generation, of course, which are going to be objecting, because they grew up with a world whereby everything was human contact, and now we can see the human contact being massively diminished, and we are feeling dehumanized, whereas the younger ones, when they are growing up with this, then it is becoming a part of them, and all of these gadgets are becoming appendages of their so-called humanisms. But they are in actual fact becoming cyborgs, aren't they? Because they are highly dependent on the AI. And I speculated when I was speaking to these women that I can't imagine that they're going to get it all their own way. I think there's always going to be a sector of society which are awake, like the vast majority of my viewers, which are, you know, going to be resisting what's going on. And I don't know whether we will, you know, win the fight, because as we become more and more of a minority, then the masses are always going to win. And it's kind of like during the whole COVID thing, when even the minority was quite a substantial number. The whole theme of it was very anti who wasn't conforming, and it got really bad. And you'll be aware that Australia and Canada and lots of countries, France, many countries around the world, Israel, they became very, very dictatorial. And for those of you who are British, you'll be aware that this Keir Starmer is now the new British guru. And, oh my God, this is naked. He is a direct descendant from any fascist party that's ever been on the world in recent times. He is absolutely all for the suppression of the masses in any which way. He gets off on his own modicum of power, and when the COVID thing was going on, he was speaking to the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and he was saying, look, you know, we could very, very easily just implement this and implement that. And what that meant was to completely close down any of the free speech that people were opining about what was going on. He was preaching that the vaccine is safe and effective and everybody please take it, and all the rhetoric that they are told to say by the powers that be. And if you listen to anybody in the know, if you listen to David Icke, Alex Jones or Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson, and these are some of the prominent ones, but if you listen to those, then they'll tell you about where these people came from, because most people wouldn't have an awareness where these new prime ministers and presidents came from. But you know, these people have got research teams, and they research and see where they came from, and then they'll look at excerpts of what they were saying before, and of course it's very, very contradictory. They will say whatever they are told to say at any time. And the old Keir Starmer thing, you can see him, he's changing his colours at the drop of a hat. And so we have to know that he doesn't have any personal integrity. He is bought and sold, and everything that he is going to be doing is going to be at the beck and call of his masters, because he of course, he sold his soul to Mephistopheles, and his palm is going to be crossed with silver, and that's all he's bothered about, I suppose, until the day of judgment, whereby he'll regret when he's burning in hell, if there is such a place. But if there isn't such a place, and people are awoke, I mean, these people that you know do these things, these psychopaths, they're not awoke, are they? They're not awoke to any level of spirituality, because if they were, then they'd have a conscience about what they're doing, and they would have an innate ability to be able to know what is right and what is wrong. And complete and utter suppression of human consciousness obviously is the wrong thing as far as cosmic law is concerned. And so they'll never win, ultimately. There will be a rise of these AI operatives, but ultimately, you know, it's going to come crashing down, and the shit will hit the fan, and you know, there'll be a massive split. And so we've got all that to look forward to, people. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of changes coming about now, because lots of the big thinkers on the world, they are already stating that we can fight back, we can win. We can see that they're not as powerful as some of us thought they were. We can see how they are given to panic. We can see, let's just say, look, for instance, the Joe Biden thing, right? Now, it's been plain for anybody with a modicum of intelligence to discern that Biden has been senile for several years. If not from the very get-go when he became president, but most certainly very, very obvious in the last 2 or 3 years. And so, all of a sudden now, the powers that be are absolutely convinced that Biden isn't going to be able to win the election against Trump, because Trump is vastly more coherent. And if the American people want anything, then I would have thought they wanted someone coherent at the helm. They don't want someone that's liable to die a week after the inauguration, or someone that and everyone's going, what the fuck is he saying? But you see, the left, the press on the left, or the press for the powers that be, have not been willing to acknowledge the president's senility for all this time, but now all of a sudden they are making announcements that maybe the president shouldn't run, because they know that he doesn't have a hope in hell against Trump, and they want to do everything in their power to keep one of their boys in instead of Trump, who's an outsider, a renegade. And so now, I think within no time at all, they'll probably be announcing that Biden is actually standing down from the presidency, and maybe Kamala Harris, she will stand in temporarily, and maybe she will even run, for the presidency. But most certainly somebody else is going to be supplanted to run against Trump, because they finally realise now that they're not going to win with this bullshit. And so when you look at what's gone on there, it's kind of like, it's kind of like the powers that be. They are just finally realising, hang on a minute, look what Biden said in his last address to the people. Do we think he's all there? It doesn't seem like he's all there. I mean, he couldn't find his way off the stage, all these sort of things. And people are going, hello, we've been saying that. The alternative media on the right have been saying that for the past 2 years, but you've not been willing to even acknowledge it. And so, of course, it's just smoke and mirrors all the time, isn't it? And they're only doing it now out of their desperation, which is a good sign. They are becoming desperate again. And so this presidential run in the US now is gonna be of huge magnitude. The outcome, you will see the powers that be are going to be trying every trick in the book. The last thing on this world they want is Trump as president, because he's going to undo a vast amount of stuff that they've been doing. And having 4 years to speak to the people, to change their minds about policy and about outlook and where America is heading and all these different sorts of things. As far as the British people are concerned, well, I mean, we're going to be in for some difficult times with Keir Starmer as the new dictator. We are going to see the true colours. Starmer will be, I would think, every single bit as dictatorial as the Canadian president, the Australian president, the French president. So you've got the Trudeaus, and you've got the Macrons, and who else have we had? I don't know who the Australian president was, but exceedingly dictatorial and oppressive, and literally stamping their foot down onto the neck of their nation. And so fun and games ahead, people. And so let's just see what turns out, shall we?